Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS. This is the third in a three-part series of videos about allowances and their effects and their over-unders and tracking them and comparing them based on changes in your estimated cost of completion so that you can watch them as your job progresses. Please watch our first two videos. We've been talking about our budget item for total appliance package that we marked as an allowance. We're on the estimated cost of completion worksheet right now, which there'll be a whole bunch of other videos about, but we had moved to this worksheet in our previous video. So this is marked as an allowance. It's showing our budget, which is our allowance amount. Then we issued a variance PO for a refrigerator, and we posted costs that included that refrigerator. If I drill down on that, you can see that we've posted the refrigerator and our total appliance package, but what we did in our previous video is we actually posted the total appliance package as a little less than our original PO that was the same as the allowance, because maybe they didn't get some item. Then we check marked those costs as being done, so that when we did an allowance over under, it was just showing this $18.79. By check marking these as done, even though we had POs for higher, we know that we're not going to pay anymore, and so our estimated cost of completion changed to $7,020. And then if we looked at the allowance tools and our over under, we saw that we had this amount that we wanted to collect. But let's say we're just looking at that and we just, for some reason, although we do not advise it, I'm going to demonstrate what happens. Some reason we decide that we'd like to issue a change order for that amount and hand that to the customer and have them pay us for that right now instead of waiting for all of our allowance over and under adjustments to come in near the end of the job. So I had showed you a contract balance report, and let's just open that real quickly so we can see the difference after we do a change order. In the previous video, we looked at the contract balance report. And we looked at how it was a fixed contract, and we had a price in already, and we could see that it's not showing any change orders here, but it's showing an allowance adjustment to increase that price. Now notice our revised price, $419,356.28. I'm going to show you how if you issue a change order, this revised price is actually not really going to change, and I'm going to show you how that happens. Because we don't want to double dip by adding change orders and allowance overages. So I'm going to go home and I'm going to click change orders, and this so we're adding a new change order for our job, Vista View, and I'd like to look and see if I have any other change orders, and I don't. So I'm going to give this a change order number with a -01. I'm going to create change order. This video is, like I said, not supposed to be about change orders, so we'll go through this pretty fast. We'll just call this refrigerator added. And I'm going to use this cost code 5505. Right after I select that, I get a note that says, FYI, this is marked as an allowance, this cost code. If this is used here, the over-under allowance calculations for determining the contract price will be adjusted down by the price of this change order line. That is because both allowance overages and change orders are added to the current contract price. I think our overage was $23.49. Let's just say it was, and we're issuing a change order for that. And we've been marking things up in our job, etc., by 25%. So let's set the price of our buyer price to $29.36.25. Actually, I think, well, let's just do that. You'll get the idea. So let's say this change order is approved either by the buyer or builder, and we'll use today's date, and then we'll submit this change order. I think you'll get the idea no matter what I do here. This may cause, and so then it's listed here. And if I close this, and I just close that change order menu, we're back on the estimated cost of completion. If I refresh it, you're going to see that the appliances the ACC has stayed the same, even though we now have something under change orders, but the ECC is the same because the actual costs we already posted in the previous video, we check marked those as done, which included this amount we're trying to put in a change order. So that part stays the same. So let's take a look at our allowances and our allowance over under analysis. We're going to see what has happened here. Notice that our estimated cost of completion was this. The difference was $1879.22, and that's really what I should have made that change order for, and then written it up by 25% if I was going to be doing this more accurately. But then this was marked up, and so the $1879.22, I'll show you how you can just edit a change order. Try not to make this too long, but sometimes running around and doing that, I think that was $1879.22. Vista view. It's hard to talk and do these things. $1829.72, I believe. I'm going to drill down on that change order. And I'm going to edit it. And right down here, I'm going to put my unit price of $1879.22. Hopefully that's close enough since I'm talking and can't remember anything I'm doing. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to close that and close that and close out of that and get back to our ECC. And I'm going to look at my allowances tools and my overage. When you're in real life, you'll be paying better attention to this. Yeah, I'm off by, my allowance adjustment has now gone down to 1 cent, and I could have been more accurate with that if I wanted to. Because I've issued a change order for the amount of this overage plus a 25% markup, I've now essentially wiped out my allowance adjustment. So let's go see what happens on our contract balance report. And the reason CHS goes ahead and applies this and takes down the adjustment is, again, so that we don't double dip on our so that we don't try to collect a change order and an allowance overage, which is double dipping, and I think the buyers might object to that. So let's drill down over here to our ECC reports and look at that contract balance report that we looked at earlier before the change orders. And now you're going to see that it has change orders here, and then an allowance adjustment of 1 cent. I think you could do a little bit of adjustment yourself to not have that round, to that 1 cent differently. And the current revised price is basically the same as what we saw earlier. So see how we're avoiding the double dipping. As soon as you do change orders for any cost code that has been marked as an allowance, CHS is going to recognize that and make sure that when you're doing these contract balance reports, they don't get hit double by plus change orders and plus allowance overage. So I just wanted to be sure that you understood that. There's a couple of other things before we leave allowances. There's some great on that allowance over under analysis. There's some good reports that you can produce on the analysis window. The first one is just the analysis, and it shows our allowance adjustments, and of course, as this job goes on, we'll have allowance over unders going on for all these various costs. We've just been using the total appliance package as a demonstration for these videos. That particular report just showed over to here to the allowance adjustment. There's another report that will also show all these columns in it, and that's the one that includes the summed up cost and POs over to the right that are just for information. These over here are just for information, and the over-under over here is not necessarily, see how we can see how costs are higher over here by that $1879.22. That's not our allowance adjustment. Our allowance adjustment happens before this black bar. And the reason for that is because of various things we've talked about. This is just for information purpose over here. The fact that this is in blue means that we have check marked these actual costs as done, and there's a notation about that up here at the top of this report. Then a couple of other reports that are really handy is if you want to show the cost detail, when we only posted 2 costs for the appliance package and for the refrigerator. But if you want to see cost detail of allowances, you can see your budgeted, your estimated cost of completion, the difference markup, the change orders that have been applied to take that down to just 0, essentially, if you type that right. But it'll give a report of the detail of the actual costs that have been applied against allowances and posted against allowances. That's what that is, actual cost. That report showed the paid status, the fact that they were paid. If they'd been unpaid, it would have shown unpaid, and sometimes builders don't want to show that on that report because they're going to show it to their buyers. So there's another one just like that that does not include the paid status. And there's one more that will show all purchase orders that have been issued. There's the 2 purchase orders we issued for those allowance amounts, in case you're just wanting to see that information. This concludes our videos about allowances. Hopefully this will help you understand how CHS is tracking a whole lot of things for you and making it a lot easier rather than scrambling around trying to look at everything you had allowances for and figure out what your costs were for it. CHS will pretty well handle that for you and take care of some things that you might do to it, and watch it ahead of time by using estimated cost at completion, and so it'll know ahead. You'll know earlier in the job where certain allowances are headed, which can be very handy. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helps your life. Bye-bye.